Hello friends. Welcome. Today we will recap 2023 American supernatural horror film, Evil Dead Rise. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. The film begins at a lakeside house where a girl named Teresa is sitting near the water. She gets startled by her friend Caleb's drone, and Caleb, who appears to be a villain, is drinking. Teresa goes to check on Jessica, Caleb's girlfriend, and her other friend, who hasn't been feeling well since they arrived. Teresa sits beside Jessica and starts reading Wuthering Heights. Jessica, in an increasingly horrifying voice, recites a passage from the book before collapsing on the bed. Teresa tries to help her, but Jessica unexpectedly grabs Teresa's ponytail and scalps her. In a disoriented state, Teresa stumbles towards Caleb, who is urinating in the lake. Caleb witnesses Jessica's possessed state. She grabs the drone, cuts her own face with it, and then tackles Caleb into the water. Jessica throws Caleb's severed head at Teresa before rising ominously above the water. The previous day, a woman named Beth is at a music venue with the band she works with. She takes a pregnancy test in the bathroom and becomes visibly worried when she sees the result. Once Beth finds out she's pregnant, she decides to ask her sister to help her decide if she will keep the baby. Meanwhile, Beth's sister Ellie is a tattoo artist living with her 3 children, aspiring DJ Danny, activist Bridget, and young Cassie, who has a fascination with dark themes. Bridget receives a visit from their neighbor Jake and his younger brother Scott. Jake has a crush on Bridget, but she declines his invitation to watch the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Later, all the siblings start playing together. Beth arrives at Ellie's apartment to talk to her. However, the sisters have a complicated relationship and are estranged due to their difficult history with their mother. While the kids like their Aunt Beth, she has not been in contact with Ellie for so long that she is unaware of her husband leaving the family months ago, and Ellie has only 1 month to find a new place to live. Ellie sends the kids to get pizza while she talks to Beth. Beth asks Ellie if she can stay at her place just for the night, revealing that she is messed up again and needs Ellie's help to fix things. When the kids return with the pizza, an earthquake shakes the apartment building, creating a hole in the parking garage. Despite Bridget's hesitation, Danny decides to explore the hole. He discovers a hidden room filled with vinyl discs and a mysterious book called the Naturum Demonto Necronomicon, also known as the Book of the Dead. Danny gets momentarily scared by the numerous crosses hanging in the room. Ellie seeks her neighbor's assistance to find her kids, but they return unharmed. Since they know their mother has been struggling with money, Danny takes everything back to the apartment, hoping these artifacts could be sold for a high price. Danny shows the book to Bridget, who is uneasy about its discovery. In an attempt to open it, Danny cuts his hand, causing blood to drip onto the book and unintentionally causing it to open. Danny starts flipping through the pages while Bridget urges him to close it. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, Beth is preparing the bathtub for Cassie. After Bridget leaves the room, Danny plays one of the vinyl records, and the voice of a priest starts speaking about the nature of the Necronomicon. As Danny listens, he sees horrifying images depicted in the book. Despite his attempts to stop the music, he finds himself unable to do so. Meanwhile, Ellie is in the elevator, going back up to the apartment. Suddenly, an unseen entity attacks her and binds her painfully with the elevator cables. Although Ellie regains consciousness, she continues to be tormented by the entity. In the apartment, the music abruptly stops. Ellie returns to the apartment, now possessed by the demonic deadites. She turns on the gas and starts cracking eggs into a frying pan, some of which contain blood. In a calm voice, Ellie speaks about cutting her children open and climbing inside their bodies. Everyone is terrified, and Ellie crawls towards them. She vomits on the floor, and Beth tries to help her, but the real Ellie manages to speak and pleads with Beth not to let the demons take her children. Ellie then collapses, apparently lifeless. Beth seeks help from Ellie's neighbors, Gabriel and Mr. Fonda, to lay Ellie in bed. Beth explains that Ellie is not religious, and they all pray together. Beth expresses regret over her strained relationship with her sister until Ellie suddenly springs back to life. She is burning up, so Beth and Danny attempt to cool her down by placing her in a bathtub filled with cold water. Ellie rises again and tells Danny, "Mommy's with the maggots now," before climbing to the ceiling and emitting a deafening shriek. Ellie attacks Beth with broken glass, attempting to harm her children. She cuts Bridget's cheek with a tattoo pen before Danny intervenes and knocks Ellie away. With the power out in the building, Gabriel and Mr. Fonda try to find a way out through a fire escape to seek help. Meanwhile, Beth and the kids lock the deadite-possessed Ellie out of the apartment. Ellie goes after the neighbors, attacking Gabriel and biting out his eye. She then brutally kills Jake and Scott. Gabriel manages to stay alive momentarily until Ellie tears out his throat. Mr. Fonda attempts to shoot Ellie with his rifle, but she disarms him and disembowels him. She then tries to break back into the apartment. Danny shows Beth the Book of the Dead and blames himself for the chaos. Bridget's wound starts turning black, and ink starts oozing from her facial orifices. She, too, becomes a deadite after vomiting insects. Meanwhile, the deadite-possessed Ellie tries to deceive Cassie by speaking to her about family, attempting to convince her to open the door for her by pretending to be her real mother. Just as Cassie is about to open the door, Beth and Danny manage to keep Ellie outside. Danny tries to calm down Cassie while Beth heads to the kitchen. Beth discovers Bridget perched on the kitchen counter, chewing on a wine glass. Bridget then attacks Beth, cutting her leg with a cheese grater. In self-defense, Beth hits Bridget with a pan, but Bridget continues to go after her siblings. Finally, Cassie defends herself by impaling Bridget through the mouth with a pointed end of a makeshift doll, seemingly killing her. Danny restrains Bridget and places her in bed for safety. Danny confesses to Beth about the Book of the Dead and shows her the vinyl records. As Beth listens to the records, she hears the priest recounting how he had to kill his possessed companions, realizing that dismemberment was the only way to stop them. Meanwhile, Ellie finds a way back into the apartment through the vents, and Bridget starts to revive. Ellie attacks Beth while Bridget targets Danny and stabs him. The deadite senses Beth's pregnancy and takes pleasure in the thought of killing them both until Cassie intervenes, pulling Ellie off Beth. Bridget is set on fire by Cassie, temporarily stopping her, but she soon returns to life while Danny succumbs to his injuries. Determined to protect herself and Cassie, Beth decides to find a way to escape. Beth and Cassie attempt to descend the fire escape, but the neighbors who were killed by Ellie have also turned into deadites. Ellie, Bridget, and deadite Danny pursue them. Beth shoots off Ellie's arm and leg before she and Cassie make their way down. Bridget and Danny begin dismembering Ellie's body to transform into a spider-like deadite. Beth and Cassie reach the parking garage but encounter trouble when Beth's car gets stuck in a pothole. They hide as the spider deadite approaches. Just as they are about to escape, the deadites grab Cassie and prepare to decapitate her with a chainsaw. Beth uses the gun to shoot them, saving Cassie. The deadites activate a wood chipper and attempt to drag Beth in, but Cassie manages to turn it off. Beth seizes the chainsaw and cuts into Ellie, Bridget, and Danny, forcing them into the wood chipper while Cassie restarts it. Although filled with remorse for killing her sister, niece, and nephew, Beth throws deadite Ellie's head into the wood chipper. Cassie grieves for the loss of her family, but Beth consoles her and leads her out of the building. The following day, it is revealed that Jessica, who also lives in the same building as Ellie but on the 5th floor, was unaware of the chaotic events that unfolded during the deadite attack. Oblivious to the horrifying ordeal, she prepares herself for the weekend trip with her friends, Caleb and Teresa. However, upon discovering the gruesome aftermath of the previous night, Jessica becomes distressed. Suddenly, the unseen entity attacks her, causing Jessica to scream. The end.